The coronavirus pandemic, or COVID-19, has left over 1.2 billion children globally out of the classroom.
Hi, I am Jackie Flores, and I am a fourth year chemistry student at Cal State LA.
Jackie is a fourth-year student at Cal State Los Angeles and anxiously awaits for the quarantine to end so she can go back to the lab to finish her research on studying climate change through electrochemistry.
In terms of my graduation plan, COVID-19 has just kind of delayed the process because I initially thought that I was going to be taking summer courses this summer, but because now everything's online, I just didn't feel that it was worth it.
For Jackie, her project on renewable sources of energy has been halted. This is a problem for students and the future of science because online learning will now determine how the future generation of students in the sciences will challenge the ongoing issues of climate change.
So I feel that it doesn't make much sense to be paying the same amount of tuition while getting a lesser quality of education. So I don't feel that it's fair to pay the same amount of tuition as a in-person course and then an online course. I don't think that it's that fair just because in person I'm able to go to the library, go to the tutorial center, use the computer labs at my school, and I had a lot of resources to kind of support me in my education. But because it's online now, everything's really different, including the tutorial center, which I heavily rely on. And so I just don't think that it's worth my money to pay the same amount while I'm learning online.
For students all over the world who are trying to find solutions to reducing our carbon footprint, in-person guidance, labs, and after-hour access to mentorship is critical.
Pretty much just like based on the fact that I'm able to have in-person guidance to really teach me what to do, what not to do. Apart from that, I think that it's super important that I should be able to access my labs because a lot of the time in labs, we do have like a trial and error technique. And so it just really depends on your technique. There's a lot of percent error in there. And so it just really helps for you to be able to practice and know what to do for the future.
Students not having equal access to education is a prime example of social injustice in our America today. With the quality of education going down and the cost of tuition remaining the same during the pandemic, students like Jackie struggle to find their place in the new world of online learning.
So prior to the quarantine, I was doing research in a lab. We were working on renewable sources of energy via electrochemistry. And one of the topics that I had to familiarize myself with was hydrogen fuel cells and how they work. And it's basically just a battery that's able to recharge itself, and it uses only hydrogen and oxygen in order to power the battery. And so this is most commonly used in cars. And so a good thing about this is that it doesn't have to rely on an outside power source. It makes its own electricity to run its own car. And so that reduces the amount of fossil fuels that we use. And apart from that, the only emissions that this car produces is heat and water vapor. So instead of carbon dioxide that most of our cars outside produce, this car would only produce hydrogen and water vapor. So to reduce my carbon footprint, I reduce the number of times I use my car. My car isn't clean energy or anything like that. It's just a normal car, and so it does emit CO2. So I really try to reduce the amount of times I go out with it, the distance. Apart from that, I also try to do things that will produce less waste. So for example, if I wanted to shave my legs or something, instead of buying wax strips that come with the packaging, the paper, the cardboard box, the plastic that it comes in, instead I can find ingredients in my house to make my own sugar scrub, which does essentially the same thing with no waste. So yes, I do think that science is important for us to better understand our impact on the environment, whether that is through electricity usage, aka the usage of fossil fuels, or the other ways that we pollute our planet. So for example, air pollution, water pollution, plastic pollution, soil, just to name a few. And so when we're presented with these scientific evidence, data, facts, we do need some type of scientific background in order to kind of follow the concept and be able to really understand the gravity of the consequences of our actions and what we're doing to our planet. And so from there, we can just learn to better ourselves and find ways in where we can reduce our ecological footprint in our everyday lives.
The U.S. Catholic bishops proclaim that vocational training should be offered in such forms and conditions as not to deprive the children of the working class of at least the elements of a cultural education. A healthy democracy cannot tolerate a purely industrial or trade education for any class of its citizens. We do not want to have the children of the wage earners put into a special class in which they are marked as outside the sphere of opportunities for culture.